I've created, or tried to create, a lot of games in the past. Some of them I've actually managed to finish, but most of them have just ended up kind of sitting here on my PC doing nothing. So I thought it would be quite fun to go through and look at some of the harebrained ideas that I tried to make and then got bored of and never did. So the oldest one I've got in my Unity library is this one, which I call Machines Gone Mad. I was kind of going for like a dystopian sort of future, kind of like start of Portal 2, when like you wake up and like everything's gone to shit, and then Wheatley comes and like tries to rescue you. I didn't get very far really. When I was trying to look at this, I was kind of wondering where everything was, but then I hit play and I realised I made it all like dynamic. I kind of had plans to make like a whole generic sort of storytelling thing. So yeah, and I was gonna have like segments, and then each of these would have like a thing that they load in and like objectives, and it was going to be like a thing that could be kind of brought between different games and like reused. I made a fair bit, but it didn't. I also made nothing. If that makes sense, but you'll see. Hopefully this isn't too loud because
Suspect 1,653.
Oh, shut that up for a minute. I was using AI to like. Oh my god. I tried to use AI voices to be placeholders until I got actual voices in. I didn't know where I'd get them just as a placeholder, but that's why I've got a robot and Peter Griffin and Lionel Hutz. But yeah, I was going to have this whole thing where like you storm in here. I'm not sure if I actually made it. And you'd go through, and then you go up in the lift, and then there'd be like enemies, you have to shoot them, but I didn't even make any collisions. Like I'm just slowly falling through the world. Like if I just look around, I don't think I did make a whole second floor, but it was yeah, I never actually got around to doing that. So that's kind of all there was really. Had big plans, and I made this pretty cool looking vending machine, and then never finished it. I made this, I think, about 7 months ago. I wanted to make a cooking game, like multiplayer. I wanted it to just have like orders come through, and then you could cook them. And I wanted it to be multiplayer. I took like another project that I'd made that had multiplayer, like working multiplayer, very basic. And I was gonna like kind of rip that out and make something new with it. I got to the point of ripping it out, and then when it got to the making new, as you can see, I never really did. The only reason I really showed this, because as you can see there's not really much to see, is that I actually came back to this again and got a lot further with it. Got another quick one here. I made this probably in like a couple hours, mainly because I was bored. I just thought it'd be a fun like sort of mobile game. It's more like a prototype really, but where if you imagine you'd have to like swipe along these sort of things to like do different shapes. So I was going to have it so it would either randomly make them or just preset them. These are all just preset. This kind of seems satisfying. This is another pretty recent one. I think I only did this a few months ago. This asset I didn't make. I just wanted to make like a driving game, kind of like The Long Drive. If you played that, it's another like kind of indie game. It got as far as making the car controller and like adding sounds and stuff. So you're gonna hear a rattly engine now. It's like stuff with like the wheel and like it's got gears and stuff like that. I don't think I ever did the dials, and the wheel's a bit glitchy as you can see, but. In terms of the actual driving, it's alright, maybe it turns a bit quick. I think did the actual wheels turn? Car. Oh, well, okay. I bring the scene over here. Let's try that again. So if I do this, oh yep, I did make the wheels turn. There you go. Another one that went nowhere. I kind of did the start, and that was it. Okay, so this one needs a bit of explanation. So I made this because my friend is kind of obsessed with being a Sigma. I think it's gone beyond a joke at this point. And I thought it'd be funny to make an app he could have on his phone that would be the ultimate Sigma app. You know, you see those videos where it's like Sigma male music or whatever, and it's just got some, stupid text. Hopefully you're not some massive, well, I don't want to offend any Sigmas. If it just plays tracks that you give it, I did actually make it so it could display text, but I was too lazy to write it in, so it just reads the album or the the name of the file. I did like effects and stuff and just had it like randomly pan around the image, and it just kind of goes through all these different tracks. Yeah, I don't think it's one of these any explanations to why I didn't do any more work on it. I think I was a bit drunk when I made it as well. So if you remember the cooking game I showed earlier, well, I'm not sure you could call it that really, the dream of a cooking game, the thought of a cooking game. Well, I got a bit further with this one. This is fully functional, really, so you can right-click on the plate, so basically the orders come in here, and then you choose, so you get more. There's only a few items in the game, but you can scroll through, and then whatever's on the plate, you can send it as that. So to give an example, if I pick this up, so if I do a bowl of chips, so I pick up my chips, I can put it in the fryer, and I can lower it down, and then it will cook it. But if I can set a timer on it, and then you can look at the temperature going up like that. You can cook things any way, really. So, for example, if I take this burger, I can put it on the grill, and then it will start to cook and brown off. And you can burn things as well. They'll go kind of a dark colour as they get cooked. So you can kind of see it changing there. It's obviously still not cooked yet. It reads the things like the data for the models and the names from like a file, so you could add more without even opening the game. If I just show here as a microwave, and I had this whole thing of like set states and substates, so you can do this, it'll put you to the substate of the microwave, and you can do that and come back out. I think it's really one of the most fleshed out games that I never finish. There you go, you can hear it beeping. So then if I take it out, is one of those done? That one is almost done. So this game isn't really very balanced. But then if I take that one, that should be done. And it kind of sits on the plate very glitchily. And then I can send that as a bowl of chips, and then I get points. So there's no actual like score, but you don't see there. The log said there's no missing items, so that means it knows it's correct. And I just forgot about this. This is going to be true. It's 758 degrees. So that's probably done. Yeah, I think we can probably. And a lid. I don't think you can. I think it all just kind of goes to the same level. That's something I never really fixed. That's done. There we go. Let's send the world's worst beef burger. Lovely. I kind of feel a bit sad that I never actually took this one any further. I do think about coming back to it just because I got so far, I guess, with the kind of core concepts. And that's our next game opening. All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into it now. I was about done anyway. This one is funny because given the time that is now, Alex Jones, if you don't know who he is, then looking him up, he just released his own game, the InfoWars, well, the Alex Jones game. But I tried making my own InfoWars game in 2019, so I was early to the party. So I modelled the studio, I did the desk, I put all these pages. I'm not sure what I wrote on here actually. The fake, I even wrote gibberish on. I think it's only just this I modelled. I started looking for filler, so I just put this in the corner, and these very stretched pictures of Alex and this Blender logo. Oh yeah, I made this. That looked pretty good. These are meant to be dispensers, but they kind of turned out looking like these very odd things. You can buy ammo and health. Let's just fire this up. There is actually sound. I'm a bit worried it's going to be deafening. Let's try that. Okay, I went for kind of like a Doom style thing. I think there's only one weapon, so you can shoot them. They do have animations, and they do look at you. I had a lot to learn about UI then. Like I did these stupid abbreviations, like TTNR is like time to next round. I could have just not written anything, and it would have probably pretty self-explanatory. It's just endless, really. Like you just keep going until you run out of ammo or money. It does get quite hectic. Let's buy some ammo and go and hide behind here. Yeah, Alex, if you're watching this, I was the first one to make an InfoWars game. I did actually put this on itch.io if you want to play it now. Although I wouldn't blame you if you don't. Well, I think we've seen enough of that. One thing you'll find if you leave a project for a while and come back to it is that things break. I've got this project here where it's saying that this is missing a prefab. I've just been looking for it, and like I can see the model is there. I think I just left it as the blend and I just dragged it straight in, and then I'm not sure where that even was, but I might just drag this back in and try and position it. But in fact, I could just get. Oh, that was 000. Is this? What's that? Just that canvas should line up with the screen. If I just bring that down, there's the canvas. If I show the gizmos, that will help. Oh, almost. Just drag that like that. It's really hard lining this up in 3D. Yeah, perspective is very important. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, there we go. I might need to put a collider on. Let's just do a mesh collider and be lazy. Do I have a character? I really can't remember how far I got with this. Right. Yes. I think. Oh yeah, you can only go through your table and the screen. So this was meant to be. If you've ever heard of what a BBS is, and I've actually got a video showing what a BBS is if you're not sure. What came before the internet, you would dial up into a BBS, and then you could talk to people, you could share files, you could do all sorts of things. Like imagine if the only thing on the internet was like Discord, I guess. And when you turned on your PC, you'd dial up to a server, you'd do what you want, talk to people, etc., and then you'd leave. So there's a lot of communities And it grew around these sort of things, and you know, some nefarious, you know, it's just like anything. But there was a lot less policing of the internet back then, because it was, well, it wasn't the internet. I'm getting sidetracked. My point was I wanted to make something like that, where you kind of in this room, but you were doing, you know, cybercrime or whatever, and have it be like hacking and stuff like that. And I've tried to make my own operating system, which does kind of do stuff. I think I even had like a whole story kind of planned out. I think I had the first mission. I've had to help. Yeah, it's got things like very basic commands, dial. And there was a number I'd made, and I can't remember how to exit. Can I even exit this? I'm not actually sure there's even a way to get out of this. I may have to go and look. Oh yes, I think there's another one where I tried to make it like, using scriptable object. You could like add lots of missions, I think. Try and find where this all lives. 0988434545. I just came up with some out of thin air, I believe. It's not a real number. I did add sound as well, so it just sort of isn't deafening. Enter. The sound? Believe some of this works. Yeah. Inbox. It was going to be like dial that. I think some of these assets are missing as well. This definitely didn't look quite like this. I don't actually think I made that one. 78373 dial. No answer. Okay, yes, I never made that one. So if I go to the, say, file. Nope. Oh, I just closed it. Perhaps that's where we should leave this one then. This one was based on something called the Theak 25. I'd highly recommend looking into it. There's some really good videos about it as well. It was a radiotherapy machine that had this really glitchy software. Well, it was the first of its kind. It was the first fully computer-controlled radiotherapy machine. The ones before that they'd had software, like a companion software, but they'd always had hardware interlocks. If an invalid configuration was selected, then it would just blow a fuse and it wouldn't do it. They removed all of those for this because they removed the ability to work with it manually. They just thought that, you know, just don't make the computer do something it shouldn't do. It'd be fine, right? The problem was that the software was written by one basically hobbyist programmer, and it was full of issues. It was full of race conditions. Just to sum up, is when I'll have to cut this. I actually think of a way to explain it. Is when two things at once, at the time that something happens, affects the result. Things called race conditions, which is basically when the time that something happens affects the outcome. For example, if the user presses a button while the machine's doing one thing, and then they press a button again while the machine's doing something else, and they don't know any of this, so just press, you know, from their perspective they're just pressing buttons, and the outcome is different, then that would be a race condition. The more technical explanation would be that multiple things are using a single variable, or writing to a single variable, sorry. The main issue, because there were quite a few bugs with it, but the main one was that if you went to select a treatment type, I think it was electron and X-ray, and X-ray is stronger than electron. If you put in electron, I think, no, if you put in X-ray, the machine would start setting itself up for the high energy beam. And then if you went back up again and changed it, I think I've got this right around, I'm not sure, but it was one or the other. So if you put it in by mistake, you were like, oh, let me switch that to electron. Then the machine would put itself back into the mode of for a lower power beam, so it would remove a guard that was in front of the beam. But if you did it quick enough, the machine would still be preparing itself for an X-ray beam and moving the beam into the X-ray position, so it wouldn't set it back to the electron. So you'd ended up getting basically blasted by a raw beam, or something like that. A raw X-ray beam, I think, without the protection. It was something like that. Deadly, of course. And there were a few other ones. I think there was another bug where there was a turntable, and every time it would go around, it would like iterate a counter. If you press the button at the exact moment that the number rolled over from 99 to 1 or something like that, then that would give them a lethal dosage as well. So it's very bad stuff. I thought it'd be interesting to have this in like a game, and maybe have it like so the player doesn't know about this, I guess, really quite niche knowledge subject. Having them wonder why sometimes randomly they're killing people, you know, I thought that could be quite an interesting game, interesting concept. So I sought to try and recreate it. I got like a block out of the room, I recreated the interface. My intention was to kind of try and recreate the actual bugs. That would be quite a fun, you know, thing to do. I guess my definition of fun is very different from everyone else. I don't even think I added a camera, so I'm going to have that there while I flick through YouTube. You'll be patient. Will you die today? I don't know. This is pretty much, obviously I'm not a radiotherapy technician, so I don't really know what half this stuff means, but this is just what it was on the actual thing. Just would murder someone if it actually did what I'm putting in here, although I'd probably do it anyway. I think it was like B for beam on, and then that would you know, whether or not the machine was feeling like it would murder someone or not. I thought it would be nice to end the video on a game I actually have finished. I have finished them, despite what it may look like. I created this one, I finished this a few months ago. It was called Star Warp, so it was inspired by an Atari game I played called Stargate. Very similar sort of graphics, but obviously much more simplistic because it was on the Atari 2600. Added like boss fights and stuff like that. I also added things like controller support, different music for each level and lots of levels, so I'll just go through and show you some of the gameplay. My controller is not working for some reason, that's weird. Well, oh well, that's game development for you. Oh, I know why. It's because I made a mobile version and I've got it in the mobile setting, and that's because that was a hack in itself to get that to work. I basically used the input system I made for the controller, but then just disable the controller input and use it instead for the touchscreen. Let's get rid of for mobile. It is not for mobile. Now we wait for Unity to be slow. Right, let's try that. No, let's not try that again. Let's start from the start. So there's some dialogue here, so I can press X to skip along, and I can shoot. Ignore the coroutine continue failure error. I guess it's kind of true, but it's because I was like stopping a coroutine. I think I used it for the movement or something like that. And Unity gives that error, even though it's not really an error. It's a bit weird. Different music for each level, different colours. Well, the main thing that I took from the original game that I was looking at, it had these portals. So also it's an endless scroll, I didn't mention that, so you can just keep going and loop around. But if you go in here, you can go to like a separate sub-level, which has a whole new set of enemies, and you've got to kill both to complete the level. So I can do this, I can go back, and then you can kind of jump between them. So in the later levels, when it gets quite hectic, it's quite fun just jumping between the two levels, I find. I can skip levels. I think level 3 is the first boss fight. With the bosses, they kind of spawn like waves of enemies as you get into a certain level of health. So I just spam this guy down, bam, and eventually... Oh yeah, there's some power-ups, there's only 2 at the moment. Rapid fire one, this one, and there's also like a speed one. I'll show you how hectic it gets, it's level 10. I think I turned it down a bit. I remember the first levels I had, well the first time I made these high level, kind of just put enemies everywhere, and it was just literally impossible. And I switched to kind of a more gradual tactic of just having loads of bosses as well. So then like the enemies would kind of come as you shoot them. I think I had some more just like squishy enemies in the slightly earlier levels. Go to level 8, here we go. This is one of my favourite levels, this one. I say that they're all pretty much the same, aren't they? I'll just show death, go and die again, and a bit. That was one of the probably the biggest projects I've worked on. If you want to play it, I'll put it in there along with the Alex Jones game. It's on itch.io. But I think that's all the games I've really got that I can show. So yeah, thanks for watching. This has been an interesting video to make. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. Let me know what your favourite game was that you saw in the comments.